Bismillah Rahman Rahim. This is lecture number 13. Today we will discuss about plans of students classification, the general criteria of students classification, and the common patterns of students classification and psychological factors of classification. Plans of students classification. What does it mean? Since the purpose of school, that is to serve the needs of pupils, and the major responsibility of the administrator is to organize the school and classify pupils to facilitate the achievement of this purpose. Even before schools were divided into grades, this adjustment problem was present. So, dividing schools into grades helped solve some problems related to textbooks, facilities, materials, and methods. But at the same time, another problem was created. So, this new problem is the lockstep system. Now, what is the lockstep system? The lockstep system, including what is known as grade standard, has made it very difficult to meet the needs of the individual pupils. Too often, administrators have been content to make the individuals try to adjust to the schools. That is to teachers, methods of instructions, courses, grades, and standards of particular grade or subject instead of adjusting the schools to the pupil. Here the individual differences are there, means individual difference of the pupils within any age group, subject class, grade, make it necessary for the administration to provide some means for respecting those differences. So many innovations in curriculum, teaching methods, and organizations have been tried, and some of them are discussed, like Vinicta plan. Around 1920, a plan of individual instruction for elementary school children within the grade was inaugurated at Vinicta, Illinois. The curriculum for each grade was divided into two parts: the common essentials and the group activities, means the common essentials. The knowledge and skills considered necessary for all pupils were divided into units or goals. Assignment sheet, worksheets, diagnostic practice test, and final test were provided for each unit. And each child worked at his own rate for the mastery of each unit. When the individual had mastered the unit, he proceeded to the next unit of work. Group activities were designed as a part of the pupil's work each day and centered around arts and crafts, music, physical education, and the like, with no standardized goals to be met. So these groups activities were to give socialization and creative experiences which the child did not get in working with the common essentials. The next one, that is unit plan. Another means of individualizing classroom work is the unit plan of teaching. The unit of works are organized around the comprehensive and significant aspect of our environment of science, of arts, or of conduct. The unit plan is a teaching procedures and requires no changes in school organization. There have been many adaptations of the unit method, such as the project, activity, and problem assignments. These methods are distinct departures from the traditional subject matters recitations type of teaching. The unit method of teaching has had great influences in the elementary and secondary schools by focusing attentions upon the organization of the subject matter for the purpose of meeting the needs of individual pupils. The unit method has also had influence upon the curriculum being offered in many schools. Effort has been made continually to change the curriculum in the schools to meet the needs of all youth. Then techniques of instructions, like adjustment of the instructional program of meet the needs of the individuals, are possible not only through a changed curriculum but also through techniques of instructions. So there are some suggestions related to instructions for meeting the individual needs, like develop units in life problems rather than on abstract subject matter problems. Teach to focus on the satisfaction of needs recognized by the learners. Provide adequate counseling and guidance services. Utilize more fully teaching resources such as films, radio, televisions, teaching machines, and the local community environment. Use a wide variety of printed materials. So if we follow these suggestions, so definitely would certainly improve the quality of instructions, and it helps to solve many adjustment problems. School would come nearer to meeting the needs of individuals by assisting him in the solution of his. Then grouping is there. Grouping means that by means of grouping, other than chronological age, has been of interest to many educational leaders for the past 3 decades. It is rather unusual to find a professional book which does not have a treatise on homogeneous grouping. In most cases, homogeneous grouping has meant grouping pupils according to the mental ability or achievement in the subject matter. Mental ability has usually been determined by group tests or teacher judgment, and achievement by standardized or teacher made test and or teacher's judgment. In the final analysis, all these factors depends to a great extent upon subject matter achievements, and if subject matter achievement is the complete goal of education, grouping according to the achievement and ability may make mass instruction easier. Many teachers prefer homogeneous ability grouping because they believe instructions can be carried out more efficiently. Arguments for the homogeneous grouping usually includes the following, like homogeneous groups are usually taught by the same method as or heterogeneous groups. Grouping saves the teacher's time and energy. More subjects matter is covered in the same period of time. Poor students are not discouraged, and specially trained teachers can be employed for poorer pupils. A homogeneous group can be taught as an individual. The brighter pupils are encouraged. Loafing on the part of superior pupils is reduced or eliminated. So there certainly are arguments against homogeneous grouping. So some of the arguments are like no basis for grouping has been developed which is sufficiently objective. Unwholesome competitions may be engendered. People are not strictly grouped in their life occupations according to ability. Status distinctions, characteristics of a class society may be fostered. Groups cannot be formed which are homogeneous in each curriculum area because the abilities of a single students vary from subject to subject. No practical way has been found to group on the basis of special ability. Grouping according to ability often causes jealousy and resentment on the part of the pupils and parents. Non-graded elementary schools. It means that this is the movement which is slowly gaining supporters. This plan of classifying student is attributed to the results of child study movement, which revealed that the children differ in many ways, and to studies revealing the negative effects of non-promotion upon the pupil's achievement and adjustment. A non-graded elementary school classify pupils according to the levels rather than according to the grade numbers. The levels are usually based on reading ability and usually consist of 10 to 12 levels in the first 3 grades. The pupil progresses through the levels at his own rate without the usual stigma of lack of promotion or failure. A pupil may complete the 3 years of work in 2 years or may take as long as 4 years. So, this plan has been used much more extensively in the primary grades than in the intermediate grades. The non-graded elementary school offers 3 major organizational advantages in classifying students, like a unit plan of years that is adaptable to the legs and sports normally accompanying the development of child, progress level that permits a child to pick up after an absence from schools at the point where he previously left off, a time range that permits children of approximately the same chronological age to remain together while progressing at same academic rates suited to individual capacities. Now, what is the general criteria for students classification? As we know that grouping has been a feature of schools in all countries. In early times, a typical small community had about enough people of school age to fill one classroom. The teacher handled all ages and all subjects as well as janitorial duties. When the students' population grew too large for one teacher, a second was hired and the students were divided between them. Age was the common selection factor. All students 6 through 12 years of age were assigned to one teacher. All those from 12 up were assigned to the other. As the population grew, so did the number of classroom groups. Grouping on the basis of age usually made no sign to the first grade, 7-year-olds to the second, and so on. So, if there was too many 6 years old for one teacher, so 2 first grade were established. The major purpose of grouping is individualization. Students are grouped so that the range of individual differences, academic and social characteristics the teacher has to contend within narrowed. Age was used originally as the only selection factor because it does correlate with the social characteristics and was all that was available to indicate academic characteristics until the introduction of standardized achievement testing in the early 20th century. Age continues to be the major selection factor. When the selection factor other than age came into use, it became necessary to differentiate between the two types of grouping, one based entirely on age, and then the term heterogeneous grouping means better meaning different came into use when the absence of grouping pattern based on anything other than age was referred to. When all 6-year-old students were assigned randomly to the 2 first grade classrooms in a school, the classrooms are said to be grouped heterogeneously. Students of widely varying academic abilities are found in each classroom. The term homogeneous grouping, homo meaning same, came into use when grouping based on something other than age or in addition to age was referred to. When 6-year-old students were assigned to the 2 first grade classrooms on the basis of their performance on reading readiness test, then classrooms were said to be grouped homogeneously. All students below a certain readiness scores were assigned to one classrooms and all above that scores to other classrooms. A narrow range of academic abilities was thus exhibited in each classroom. The grouping patterns discussed in these sections are in most cases homogeneous because they are based on factors other than age alone. Then common pattern is there, like ungraded grouping. Grade levels are abandoned. The early One teacher schools were ungraded because they contained students of all grade levels in one classroom. Contemporary ungraded grouping patterns usually distinguish between lower elementary and upper elementary, ungraded primary, and ungraded intermediate. Students are assigned to an ungraded primary for at least their first 3 years of schooling. They are promoted to the intermediate group on the basis of age, social maturity, academic ability, or some combination of three factors. A school might have 3 or more ungraded primary classrooms. The teacher in the primary classrooms might stay with the same group of students for the entire 3 years, thus assuring that the teacher becomes well acquainted with students. Then inter-classroom subject grouping. This is also one of the common pattern. Students are grouped according to the subject they are studying. This is the most common grouping pattern in junior and senior class high schools, and it is used in elementary schools when teachers trade for different subjects, such as when the two fourth grade teachers agree that one will reach reading to both classes while the other teach all the mathematics. During a 2 hour period, teacher A has reading class A for the first hour and reading with class B for the second hour. Teacher B follows the opposite schedule for mathematics. The pattern is also followed when special teachers are hired to teach all the music, art, and physical education. The third one is that pattern is inter-classroom ability grouping. You know that here the students are assigned to classrooms according to their performance on intelligence and achievement test. For example, students might be assigned to one of the two sixth grade classrooms on the basis of their scores on the general achievement test. And all those scoring grades level or higher are assigned to one classrooms, while all those scoring from grade level or below are assigned to another. A high school might use placement tests to assign students to different English and mathematics courses, or even to totally different tracks. The assignment to ability groups may be for the entire day or only for special subjects, as when the disabled readers or gifted students are pulled from their classes for instructions by special teachers. The term homogeneous grouping is sometimes used to refer to this grouping pattern. The fourth one is split day grouping. This is other common pattern. Like students are assigned to split day schedule as a means of reducing class size for critical subjects. It is commonly used for reading in the primary grades. For example, half of the class comes to the school at 8:30 p.m. and receives reading instructions until 9:30 am. Normally, this type of pattern nowadays I am observing in different schools due to COVID-19. So, when the second half of the class arrives at 1:30 p.m., the first half of the class levels leave schools and reading instruction is provided the second half from 1:30 p.m. until 2:30 p.m. So they go home. By having only half of the class present during reading instruction, the teacher can provide more individual help. Then intra-classroom ability grouping. Within the classroom, students are grouped on the basis of ability. The pattern is most common in reading, where the students are given a reading achievements test and then assigned to one of the three groups according to their performance: a high group, a middle group, and a low group. So this grouping pattern has been used at all grade levels from kindergarten through high schools. Special ability grouping. Students are assigned for short periods and on the basis of their ability to a special teacher for half an hour each day, or remedial teaching teachers might work with students below a certain reading levels, and an enrichment teacher might work with students above a certain level. Remedial programs for disadvantaged students may use a number of intellectual, academic, and social factors in the selection as might enrichment programs for gifted students. Then intra-classroom individualized grouping. Instruction in the classroom is provided for one student at a time regarding programs called individualized reading. The pattern has become more popular in the last 10 years because of the availability of published self-instructional material, and the best use of continuous progress selecting students into individual group varies widely, and sometimes none is used. Students just work alone. Then basis of class classification. The simplest and crudest basis of classification is the age of children. In countries where elementary education is compulsory and children join the schools at a certain prescribed age, instruction is graded on age basis, and each class has generally children of the same age. And people being promoted from year to year, age is generally an index of the pupil's educational standing. Often we come across pupils who are older than their class fellows but have a less ability in school subjects than their age would warrant. Statistical investigation as done in USA as to be actual distribution of pupils by age among the elementary and high school classes have shown a very wide range. In one class, for instance, in a single state, the chronological age varied from 9 years to 17 years, and the average being 11 to 12 years. Similar investigation in Pakistan will show perhaps a wider range of distribution. These wide differences in the ages of pupils in the same class have existed ever since the beginning of school system. But before what is called the scientific movement in education started about the generation age, there was a little awareness of their educational implications until attention was focused upon the problems of retardation in schools by Leonard P. Iris, famous studies logged in our schools. Retarded children. Who are they? It is the noticed phase that a very large percentage of pupils are retarded in their educational progress, having usually stagnated in a class for 2 or 3 years. The longer a child remains in a class, the less is the hope of his future progress. Stagnation occurs to much larger extent in rural areas than in urban, and in some cases in rural areas children remain in the same class for as many as 6 or 7 years. Realizing their inferiority to younger children, retarded pupils lose self-respect and self-confidence. They are also generally neglected by the teacher. Being unable to show themselves off in studies, the attempt by way of compensation to express their feelings of self-assertions in undesirable ways, resulting in breaches of school under order and discipline. They set a bad examples to other children and are a constant threat to the tone of the class and the schools. Further, poor parents can't afford to keep their children at school indefinitely, even if education is free. Such children, having become old enough to bring little more guests to the family meal, are withdrawn from the schools, particularly in rural areas, before they have progressed in their studies sufficiently far. Then stagnation leads to the other wheel of wastage. It is not desirable either in the interest of the such overage children or that of other that they should stay in any class for more than 2 years. Some authorities recommend that overage pupils should be either sent away from the schools to assist their parents in earning or living, or unless they are hopelessly unfit, promoted to the higher class where they may find pupils of their own age and regain self-respect and self-confidence, and so develop a sense of responsibility. So, what is general intelligence? It means that instead of chronological age, mental age is now adopted in several countries as the basis of classification. Like in America, intelligence tests, especially group tests, which are easy to administer and to score, have been used for some years past to classify pupils so that those of the same general intelligence or ability may be brought together in one class. In many cases, division of classes into sections, wherever this is necessitated by numbers, is based on the result of these tests, and transfer to pupils to special schools for the subnormals and supernormals is arranged on the same basis. The adoption of this basis has been found to uh, have worked satisfactorily, as it enables the school staff to place together pupils who will progress in their work at equal rates and will be more or less alike in achievement at the end of the periods of schooling. Then intelligent tests are especially useful in classification to primary schools, where past achievements in school subject is of comparatively little account as compared to capacity to do social school work. The usual method of assessing ability at this stage by the simple test in what are regarded as the basic subjects might yield misleading results. Retardation might be due to prolonged absence from schools through illness, to unfavorable home conditions of lack of opportunities for education, rather than to any inherent mental defects in the children. And retardation at the stage can be easily made good if there is mental ability and proper motivation for work. It should be noted in this connection that for children under 10 or 11 year of age, individual tests are more suitable than group tests, but they should be applied by those who have had some training in psychological testing. Then attainment in school subjects. Another method employed is to put into the same class pupils who have given evidence of satisfactory attainments in all, or at least the more important subjects of the school course. When people are examined in all the subjects, weakness in any one unimportant subject is often condoned. So, this is the traditional method of classification and promotion. So, it rests on the theory that what the people have achieved in the past ensures future achievements in the same field. In a generality of cases, the basic subjects of curriculum are considered, and attainment in these subjects determines classification and promotions. It is recommended that headmasters of primary schools should use standardized tests in the fundamental subjects such as reading, writing, and the simpler processes of arithmetic. Then multiple and composite bases. Like there are theoretically speaking several other bases of classification such as the social maturity of children, their psychological growth, and their moral and emotional qualities to industry, perseverance, ambitions, and interest. The National Survey of Secondary Education, as in the USA, found 16 different bases of grouping used in 280 schools, but none of these taken singly gives any high correlation with educational achievements. So, this is one of the research which was done in America. In other words, no single basis furnishes any aid or guidance in classifying pupils to form homogeneous groups for the purpose of instruction. In view of the inadequacy of any one basis for classification of pupils, multiple bases are often employed as a check against one another. So there are chronological age of pupils, their past record as expressed in school marks, their general intelligence in terms of their intelligence quotients, and their scholastic achievements as determined by objective test. Pupils are ranked on the basis of each of these criteria, and then divided according to the rank into 2, 3 or more groups according to the numbers of section of the class in the school. So when it is found that there is wide variation in the rank of pupil according to the several bases implied, the teacher's judgment decides the final placement of the pupil. So there is also another method of classification, that is called composite method, which implies a number of criteria such as psychological development, general intelligence, achievement in school subjects, social maturity, industry applications, chronological age, etc. So the tests are applied in respect of all these traits, and the raw score reduced to the composite score by statistical methods on the same scale. All about the topic whatever we have discussed, and again I will request that still if you didn't subscribe my channel, subscribe it and share with your friends, and be with me and get updates about the lectures related to the, you can say, education, leadership and management. So inshallah I will give you the more information. I have given some link in the description below. You can find out and follow my those pages also. Visit my website where the notes of different subjects are available. Other than you can say, if you want to apply in CSS, Punjab Public Service Commission, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Balochistan, whatever, wherever you want to apply in any competitive exam, so inshallah you will get the notes regarding your subjects. And if you think that you don't have any notes of subjects, so you can text me. Again I will request that I fully try my best to give you answer in time, but just let the message at my WhatsApp, and inshallah I will give you reply. Otherwise you can send me mail, and I will reply as soon as possible. So thank you, take care, Allah Hafiz.